This is a presentation on Canem by Marco, James, Austin, and Brady. And in this presentation, we're going to be analyzing Canem as a movement itself, relating it to another arts movement, and deep diving into four poets. So before we start, what is Canem? So Canem, first, they nurture talent. They provide workshops, retreats, and programs to help develop new generations of African American poets. The focus is on artistic growth. Empowering voices. The movement aims to amplify marginalized voices and perspectives through literature. There is a spirit of uplifting and celebrating Black experiences. Promoting innovation. Canem pushes stylistic boundaries, reimagines poetic aesthetics, and champions artistic risk-taking. Fresh approaches are very encouraged as well within the Canem movement. Exploring identity. The poets grapple with themes of race, gender, sexuality, and class through their writing. Identity is critically examined. Fostering collaboration. Canem facilitates creative exchange through gatherings, discussions, and group projects. Community and mentorship are central. So the first poet we're going to be analyzing is Kwame Dawes. Kwame Dawes is a renowned Jamaican-born poet, scholar, and activist who has been instrumental in the Canem community for over 25 years. He was born in Ghana in 1962, but grew up in Jamaica before immigrating to Canada in 1980. He draws on his Caribbean roots in his writing. As a prolific writer, he's authored 19 poetry collections, over 30 poetry works, novels, and plays. He's currently a Chancellor's Professor of English at the University of Nebraska and has instructed numerous Canem workshops over the years. Dawes is known for an innovative hybrid poetic style that draws deeply from his Jamaican heritage. His poems are marked by a strong sense of musicality and rhythmic quality influenced by reggae, jazz, and blues. His innovative approach includes experimenting with line lengths, unconventional formatting, and visual shaped poems. His poems tend to grapple with themes of post-colonial identity, diaspora, oppression, and social justice. He often uses oral influences, shifts of voices, and sensual descriptions throughout his poems. His innovative integration of Jamaican rhythms, dialects, and folklore exemplifies Canem's promotion of diverse aesthetics within African American literary tradition. Dawes frequently experiments with poetic form in line with Canem's championing of stylistic diversity. His poems give voice to marginalized perspectives and call for social justice, reflecting Canem's values of uplifting unheard narratives. As an educator, Dawes also works to mentor emerging Black poets, providing guidance and professional development opportunities. We are now going to be analyzing a poem by Kwame Dawes, but first I'll play a reading of the poem by himself.
Tornado child, tornado child, tornado child. I am a tornado child. I come like a swirl of black and darken up your day. I whip it all up into my womb, lift you and your things, carry you where you've never been, and maybe if I feel good, I might bring you back all warm and scared, heart humming wild like a bird after early sudden flight, 'cause I'm a tornado child. I tremble at the elements. When thunder rolls, my mother womb trembles, remembering the tweak of contractions that tightened to a wail when my mother pushed me out into the black of a tornado night. I'm a tornado child. You can tell us from far by the crazy of our hair. Couldn't tame it if we tried. Even now I tie a bandana to silence the din of anarchy in these kaya thick plats. 'Cause I'm a tornado child, born in the whirl of clouds. The center crumbled, then I came. My lovers know the blast of my chaotic giving. They tremble at the whip of my supple thighs. Tornado child, you cross me at your peril. I cling to light when the warmth of anger lashes me into a spin. The pine trees bend to me, swept in my gyrations, 'cause I'm a tornado child. And when the spirit takes my head, I hurtle into the vacuum of white sheets billowing and paint a swirl of color streaked with my many songs, 'cause I am a tornado child.
Repetitive "I am a tornado child" refrain establishes free-spirited, chaotic persona and theme. Elongated lines and irregular stanzas reflect the tornado's windy, unpredictable nature. Vivid tornado imagery conveys intensity and danger. Swirl of black, whip, swallow light, all words to convey this intensity and danger. Sensual language shows the fiery passion. Supple thighs, lovers tremble. Personification of nature, saying pine trees bend to me, gives natural primal power. Additionally, the tornado birth backdrop highlights conception in turbulence and freedom, a very common theme in both the African American lifestyle and the lifestyle of all humans. Vivid imagery of colorful creative energy reflects the Cave Canem stylistic innovation. And finally, the defiant, spirited female persona gives voice to the marginalized perspective. A quote by Kwame Dawes: "Maybe that is the power of poetry. It somehow transcends news cycles and becomes a part of our collective imagination. That is the beauty of the art form I like to play with." This quote captures Dawes' perspective on poetry's enduring power and universality. He suggests poetry can transcend news cycles, meaning it is not bound by the tense nature of daily news and events. Dawes argues poetry becomes part of our collective imagination. It enters our cultural consciousness and psyche, shared across societies. This relates to how poetry draws on common themes, like love, grief, joy, that unite our human experience across all backgrounds. He refers to poetry as an art form he likes to play with, conveying that poetry is a creative realm for exploration and experimentation. This relates to Dawes' own pioneering aesthetic as part of Cave Canem. He plays with form, language, and rhythm to innovate poetry.
Major Jackson. Major Jackson was born in 1968 in Philadelphia. He went to Central High School in Philadelphia and earned degrees from both Temple University and the University of Oregon. He is currently the Gertrude Conway Vanderbilt Chair at Vanderbilt University and worked at the University of Vermont from 2002 to 2022 as an English professor. Jackson boasts an impressive catalog that includes books such as Roll Deep, Hoops, and Rega for Obama. So in terms of his style, Major Jackson uses an interesting yet somewhat traditional style that includes long stanzas and a paragraph style. At the center of his style is storytelling. Jackson uses storytelling to elaborate on the everyday life of African Americans and generally explores themes of adolescence. His stories usually highlight the struggles of the African American experience, and especially substance abuse and addiction. Major Jackson fits the overall theme of Cave Canem through subtle motifs about being seen in his poems. In his poem Ferguson, he describes the story of an African American man laying down on a busy street, saying, "Soon helicopters hovered above, posing his curled torso and thick legs, and spotlights televised the world over." This quote really highlights this theme of being seen, which fits into the Cave Canem's overall message of elevating African Americans in literature, and in a greater sense, life. Euphoria is one of the poems that caught my attention first. It showcases some of Jackson's best storytelling and has deep themes of African American life and drug abuse.
Late winter. Sky darkening after school and groceries bought from Shopmart. My mother leaves me parked on Diamond to guard her Benz. Her keys half turned so I can still listen to the quiet storm, while she smokes a few white pebbles at the house crumbling across the street. I clamber to the steering wheel, undo my school tie, just as Luther Vandross starts in on that one-word tune, creepin'. The dashboard's panel of neon glows, and a girl my age, maybe 16 or so, in a black miniskirt, her hair crimped, with glitter, squats down to pane glass and asks, "A date, baby? For 5?" Outside, streetlight washes the avenue. A cheap orange, garbage swirling a vacant lot. A crew of boys slapboxing on the corner, throwing back large swills of malt. Even the sidewalk teeming with addicts, their eyes spread thin as egg whites. She crams the crushed bill down her stockings, cradles and slides her palm, in rhythm to my hips thrashing, in rhythm to Loser's voice which flutters. Around that word I know mistake for weep, as sirens blast the neighborhood and my own incomprehensible joy to silence. Out of the house my mother steps, as though returned from the ride of her life, studies pavement, cracks for her half-empty vials, then looks back at bricked over windows, as though what else mattered? A family, a dinner, a car, nothing but this happiness so hard to come by.
One quote of Jackson's that stood out to me is this one: "We are, without art, poetry, and literature, incapable of taking in the full width and complexity of our humanity, and we are likely to overlook the miracles that are found there. Poetry brings us closer." The way I interpreted it, this quote, is that Jackson is trying to emphasize poetry as a vehicle for understanding of the world around us, and poetry and art in general is a gateway to finding miracles in a harsh world.
All right, so next up we have Terence Hayes. So not only is Terence Hayes an award-winning poet, but he's outstanding in terms of contemporary poets of the 21st century. And what I mean by that is that he's won multiple awards, multiple fellowships, such as the MacArthur Fellowship, and he currently teaches creative writing at NYU. And a really important piece of understanding who Terence Hayes is and his background is knowing that he grew up in South Carolina during very heated times in the late 80s and the early 90s, partly due to multiculturalism and diversity initiatives. But a really important piece of that is the Rodney King riots, which were civil rights riots fueled by the police brutality in the case of Rodney King. So some of his style, he really likes to play around with experimental format, and he often employs unconventional forms. He sometimes includes sonnets and other traditional structures, but he normally infuses them with a contemporary and inventive twist. And then also an exploration of identity. And much of his work is, it dives into themes of identity, particularly his racial and cultural identity. And his poems often reflect his personal exploration of what it means to be an African American in contemporary America. Also, social commentary is a really big part of his work. He addresses many social and political issues with his poetry, and he engages in topics such as race, history, power dynamics, and he often offers a critical lens on the complexities of the human experience as a whole. And then lastly, he likes to include playful language. So he's really known for his playful and inventive use of language. He embraces things such as word plays, puns, linguistic experimentation, and that really adds layers and meaning and depth to each one of his poems. All right, so fitting the theme of Cave Canem. So he's, like I said, he's known for his inventive and experimental use of language, but this really aligns with the commitment to pushing boundaries of the poetic expression. And his work contributes to the organization's goal of showcasing diverse and cutting edge voices within the African American literary tradition. So his achievements, including winning the National Book Award for Poetry, exemplify the impact and excellence that Cave Canem aims to nurture and really celebrate. His involvement with Cave Canem reflects and reinforces the organization's mission to support and elevate the African American poets within America. So he really has that holistic contribution to African American poetry all around. Okay, so a quote from him. This quote is really touching on the interpretation of poems. So he says, "Poems are not read, they are reread. Reread the poem, then read between the lines. Then look at it, then watch it, then peek at it, handle it like an object. Contemplate its shadows, angles, and dimensions." And what he's getting at is that poems are intrinsically complex and need to be analyzed to connect with the meaning of them. Um,
American Sonnet for my past and future assassin. I lock you in an American sonnet that is part prison, part panic closet, a little room in a house set aflame. I lock you in a form that is part music box, part meat grinder to separate the song of the bird from the bone. I lock your persona in a dream-inducing sleeper hold while your better selves watch from the bleachers. I make you both Jim and Crow here. As the Crow, you undergo a beautiful catharsis trapped one night in the shadows of the gym. As the gym, the feel of crow shit dropping to your floors is not unlike the stars falling from the pep rally posters on your walls. I make you a box of darkness with a bird in its heart. Voltas of acoustics, instinct, and metaphor. It is not enough to love you. It is not enough to want you destroyed.
Next up is Elizabeth Alexander. Born in 1962, Harlem, New York, she would graduate from Yale in 1984 with a bachelor's degree and studied poetry at Boston University, where she earned her master's in 1987. In 1992, she earned her PhD in English from the University of Pennsylvania. She has been awarded the Jackson Poetry Prize, the John Simon Guggenheim Memorial Foundation Fellowship, the George Kent Award, the National Endowment for the Arts Fellowship, and 3 Pushcart Prizes for Poetry. Style. Elizabeth Alexander's poetry is marked by lyrical and evocative language, using vivid imagery and details for emotional resonance. Engaging with African American culture and history, she incorporates cultural allusions that explore the complexities of race and identity. Employing a narrative approach, her storytelling style makes insights accessible to the reader. Furthermore, Alexander uses her awareness for the world to provide social and political commentary, enriching her work with broader societal context. Fitting the theme. Elizabeth Alexander's poetry aligns with Cave Canem's mission by amplifying African American voices, celebrating cultural heritage, and exploring the complexities of identity. Her work is rooted in cultural tradition that contributes to the collective narrative of Cave Canem, reflecting a commitment to diversity, solidarity, and innovation within the African American poetic tradition. Now we have a video of Praise Song for the Day.
I have the distinct pleasure of introducing an American poet, Elizabeth Alexander. Praise song for the day. Each day we go about our business, walking past each other, catching each other's eyes or not, about to speak or speaking. All about us is noise. All about us is noise and bramble, thorn and din, each one of our ancestors on our tongues. Someone is stitching up a hem, darning a hole in a uniform, patching a tire, repairing the things in need of repair. Someone is trying to make music somewhere with a pair of wooden spoons on an oil drum, with cello, boombox, harmonica, voice. A woman and her son wait for the bus. A farmer considers the changing sky. A teacher says, "Take out your pencils. Begin." We encounter each other in words, words spiny or smooth, whispered or declaimed, words to consider, reconsider. We cross dirt roads and highways that mark the will of someone and then others who said, "I need to see what's on the other side. I know there's something better down the road. We need to find a place where we are safe." We walk into that which we cannot yet see. Say it plain, that many have died for this day. Sing the names of the dead who brought us here, who laid the train tracks, raised the bridges, picked the cotton and the lettuce, built brick by brick the glittering edifices they would then keep clean and work inside of. Praise song for struggle. Praise song for the day. Praise song for every hand-lettered sign, the figuring it out at kitchen tables. Some live by love thy neighbor as thyself. Others by first do no harm or take no more than you need. What if the mightiest word is love? Love beyond marital, filial, national. Love that casts a widening pool of light. Love with no need to preempt grievance. In today's sharp sparkle, this winter air, anything can be made, any sentence begun. On the brink, on the brim, on the cusp. Praise song for walking forward in that light.
And now here's a quote from Elizabeth Alexander. Poetry is what you find in the dirt in the corner. Over here on the bus. God in the details. The only way to get from here to there. The quote is messaging that poetry serves as a journey from one place to another and that it can get lost in the busyness of everyday life. Connecting Cave Canem to the Black Arts Movement. Both had a focus on cultivating and uplifting Black voices / writers and empowering community. Each emphasized pride in Black culture and identity and giving voice to unique experiences. The movement shared a spirit of innovation and expanding notions of high art. There was a shared belief of connecting art to social justice and change. Artists in both movements sought to break away from white mainstream aesthetics and traditions. Mentorship between generations of artists was a key dynamic. Each inspired future generations of Black artists across genres. New elements. Urban grit means storytelling in oral history with contemporary urban language and themes, and hip-hop heretics, references to hip-hop culture, sampling, and knowledge ciphers. Thank you.